For me, at a very young age, drugs and alcohol were the only source of entertainment and fun that I knew, my only escape, my only happiness.
I lost everything. I lost my kids, my wife, my job, my freedom, homeless. I lost everything. And
I sold a lot of my jewelry, my kids' jewelry. Lost jobs. The reason why I sold the jewelry was to get money to buy cocaine.
Before I came to Anderson House, I was sitting in a jail cell. Um, I was very comfortable with jail at that point in my life. I had been in and out from a very young age. And at that point in my life, I decided I didn't want to keep doing that anymore. I never gave myself a chance, so I might as well try something different. And the worst case scenario, I don't like it and I could just go and get high again.
I've been through a horrendous time, sleeping in abandoned buildings with my father looking for me, as a kid in Newark, my mother died. I was like 15 years old, and I used to take her cancer medication. While she laid in bed with her eyes open, she used to watch her youngest son reach over her and take her medication, and just awful.
I thought I was hiding the wine from everyone, but they knew. I have two children. They're adult children, a boy and a girl, and my husband. And I would have to make sure that I had water bottles full of wine upstairs, in the middle, and down in the basement, in the hamper. I mean, they were everywhere.
When I started my journey into recovery, it wasn't even something I considered, like having a future that I would be happy in or a life that would bring me joy. It was more just getting out of the misery that I had put myself into.
And I was laying in bed with a gallon of skirt top wine and a big bag of potato chips in the other hand, and had a moment of clarity. Realized that I am not insane, but this was definitely a insane um, position that I put myself in.
I've been to prison. I've been to several treatment facilities. I never got it. And even when I went into my last treatment facility, I told drug dealers I would see them in 30 days. I told bartenders I was going on vacation, and I still didn't want it.
It was really hard the first couple months, but I eventually accepted that I had to do this and that I wanted to change. I wanted to change my life, and I had been to plenty other programs, but Anderson House really saved my life.
I detoxed from alcohol, and mostly alcohol, because the repercussions from cocaine wasn't death. Alcohol was death. And I spent 30 days there, and then I started to regain some sort of sanity, and I was in love with the process and did not want to go back to where I was.
I had a lot of friends pass at the age of 22, so I wasn't sure if I would make it to see 23. And I would say that my 23rd birthday was, so far, I'm only 26 now, but was probably one of the best birthdays. And I was sitting at the table with a bunch of other sober women in rehab. So.
And I started to feel good about myself again. And I spoke with the counselor at the recovery center and said I need to do more. But there were issues with money and insurance, So I was looking for a place that my husband didn't have to pay a whole lot of money because I didn't have any. And we did some research and we found Anderson House. Why do I have to do this? What does this have to do with my recovery? How is this going to help me cleaning your house? And the counselor said to me, "Oh, Arlene, why don't you just say okay? Just say okay to them and do it." And this came over me, this experience, and I will never, ever forget it. Just everything poured out of me. I was yelling and screaming that all my life I said okay to everybody. And this is not okay. I am not saying okay. And she turned around and looked at me and she said, "It's about time."
But after being in sobriety and recovery for some years now and meeting other people in sobriety, I realize how much better my life is, and how much fun that I have sober. More fun than I ever had when I was high or drunk or anything like that. It's funny too, because like I have a lot of, like, I go to a lot of sober parties or I host sober parties, and if I ever invite someone who's not an addict or an alcoholic, they're always like, "But there's no drugs or alcohol." And I'm like, "No." And they're like, "So then how do you have fun?" And it's hard for me to explain to someone because I don't know, we just do it, we just have fun. It's nice to know how to laugh and enjoy yourself without being under the influence of any type of substance. So.
When I mentioned to you earlier that I had lost my kids, and I walked both of my kids down the aisle. I paid for their colleges. I have a son that's a lieutenant in the police department. In the streets that I roamed, he now patrols.
Less people are coming to treatment. Yet, I personally know that the pandemic has wreaked just severe havoc on folks with addiction and mental health issues. And
2.5 years ago, when COVID first started, for me to tell somebody, well, the first thing you got to do when you leave treatment here is go to a meeting when there was no meetings. Very, very difficult, and the people that are successful are the people that get themselves in the middle of one of these 12-step groups.
we, from the beginning, have done what we can to protect our patients and our staff, but we've had several instances of outbreaks. The first one, which reduced our census from about 110 down to about 45 in a matter of 2 weeks. We lost about $400,000 over that period of time. We created isolation rooms, and that allowed us to maintain a census level of between 90 and 100, so we wouldn't, we mitigated the loss considerably. All of that comes at a cost. Additional staffing, additional groups, additional counseling sessions, technology, and at the same time we're occupying rooms that we can no longer fill, because you have to keep people in isolation for 5 days to make sure that they clear their test. So
I think the clientele today, or the population today, is much more difficult than ever before. So to get them here and to get them to treatment, and then to keep them in treatment, which is a daily battle, trying to keep somebody here, would be a key if we could find a way to keep people in treatment.
We're treating the people that nobody else wants to treat, and they're expensive patients to treat. They come with all kinds of medical issues. They come with all kinds of mental health issues. These are the people that have cut off all ties of their families, and nobody else wants to treat them. So that's probably the biggest challenge that we're facing over the next 2 years.